You might know him as Crusher from Star Trek Next Generation. He plays an iteration of himself on The Big Bang Theory. He's done a number of voices for television and video games, and he's a bit of a gamer himself. And now he's the host of the Unrivaled Tabletop Tournament Series. Talking about Wil Wheaton. Wil, good morning. Tell me a little bit about this Unrivaled thing.
So this is a tournament series that started in game shops all around the country. There were tournaments held at what we call friendly local game shops all across the United States. And from those tournaments, about 800 players were given an invitation to come to Las Vegas for a chance to play in the final game of the tournament last night. So there were 6 games, 4 players per game. And we played the finals last night, and they awarded a $10,000 first prize to each player who won, and a $10,000 prize to their game shop back in their hometown.
So a little bit for the player, a little bit for the people encouraging the player and helping grow these tabletop games, especially since we're in a world right now where it's all about esports, video games, computer games. Why focus on the tabletop?
Well, I've been a tabletop gamer since middle school. I started with Dungeons and Dragons and then moved into some of the classic tabletop games. It was Illuminati and Ogre and the awful green things from outer space and Car Wars and Diplomacy. And then I love tabletop gaming so much because it puts us in the same physical space. It puts us face to face with friends and strangers, and it strengthens the bonds among family members, and it really just reminds us of our shared humanity. And it might be that I'm a 45-year-old old man and I feel like I don't really make that connection if it's happening online. Maybe a younger generation feels the same connection online that I feel in person. But I really feel that when we get together to play games in person, we're sort of like strengthening the social contract a little bit. And this tournament series in particular was really exciting to me because the friendly local game shops, these independently owned game shops that are all over the country, are really the cornerstone of the community that exists among gamers. These are places where we get to go every night of the week if we want and play organized and kind of ad hoc games. And one of the things that I've been trying very hard to do since I created my series Tabletop 5 years ago is make these environments friendly and welcoming and all-inclusive and kind of get rid of the gatekeepers who would tell people, well, you're not playing games the right way, so you can't come here. So I feel like this is an opportunity for all of us, not just me, but everybody who came to this tournament this weekend, to become ambassadors for gaming.
And not have to worry about THAC0.
Exactly. Yeah. Somebody asked me the other day, can you still calculate that? And I said, I can, but I do everything I can to avoid situations where I have to.
Nobody likes THAC0.
Yeah, that's absolutely true.
Now, I know Unrivaled, I'm using my cheat sheet here, but I know Unrivaled is featuring 6 tabletop games. Munchkin, which I know, love, and have been playing for years. I think that's one of the most fun, most ridiculous games you can play. But on top of this, we got Kings of Tokyo, Ascension, Epic Spell Wars, Nevermore, Villagers, and Villains. I mean, tell me a little bit about why these games.
I don't know exactly why these particular games were chosen. I can tell you that I love that these games were chosen because they're not what you would think of as traditional tournament games. For tournament games, you would think of things like Starfleet Battles and Agricola and Magic the Gathering and games that might have a higher a barrier to entry. They're a little more complex, and they're games that have a very low ratio of luck to strategy. And that's, I think, what you expect from tournament gaming. But for this tournament series, all of these games are really accessible to a lot of players. They're very easy for people to learn. Most of them can be taught in 5 minutes or less. And these are the games that when someone says, "Oh, my husband doesn't game, and I really want to help him see what are the games he should play," these are the kinds of games that I recommend because they're very accessible, they're very fun, their themes are really silly, and you're never going to have a hard time finding people who want to play these games with you.
Now, I know beyond those 6, there was a Magic the Gathering tournament, a 64-person tournament, and that's a game that's near and dear to my heart. I've been playing since 1994. Fallen Empire is my first set. I keep a deck on me at all times. I actually have one in my camera bag. Yes, that's just how crazy I am about this game. And I know you yourself are a fan of that game. Are you happy that that was also on the slate?
Yeah, I thought it was great that they had that tournament happening, and I thought it was great that it was sort of like off in its own space, because Magic players are a very unique breed of gamer, and I've been playing Magic since Alpha. And I stopped playing seriously and competitively around Ice Age, and then I came back in at Zendikar, dropped out again, and played a little bit in the most recent release, the name of which has just gone out of my mind, because that's great.
It's the Pirate and Dinosaur set, Ixalan.
Yeah. One of the things that I'm most grateful for with Magic is it introduced the concept of deck building games to people. And for people at home who don't know what that means, a deck building game is where you have cards in front of you, and you're drawing cards and adding cards to your hand, and giving bad cards to your opponent, and hoping that you can construct a deck that you're going to be able to use to defeat your opponent in some kind of battle. And Magic kind of was the first game that did that. But it also introduced this thing that we kind of called the chase, which was going out and buying booster packs and trying to get extra cards. And eventually it became a game where people who had the most money could build the best decks. And I think that was frustrating to a lot of players. So that led to designers who did games like Dominion and Ascension and Star Realms and Legendary, and these games where you get everything you need in one box, and you get all the fun of deck building, and you get all the fun of like figuring out what exactly it is you're going to do to try to take on another player without the unfair advantage to the trust fund kids.
I believe that one of Magic's biggest competitors, a game called Legend of the Five Rings, which was previously published by AEG, is now going that route too. They've taken the game out, and they're revamping it as a bundled, you buy the game type thing. Now, speaking of other games, I'm sure this is not the only year you're going to do Unrivaled. I'm going to do it again next year, I hope. And if so, what kind of games would you like to see in the next iteration of this?
I listen, if they invite me back to do this in another year, I will do everything that I possibly can to say yes. I think that it was a real success. It was really fun to see a room full of players yesterday morning, just so excited to be gaming, and to hear all of the people that came to cheer them on. And then last night, when we played in the Jubilee Theater here at Bally's, it was just so, it was awesome. It was not the sort of thing that I associate with tabletop gaming. We had a theater full of props, and full of, when we played King of Tokyo, we had people dressed as giant kaiju monsters stomping through a little cardboard city. We had divided the audience up into different colors to represent the different players, like the old Nickelodeon show Guts or the old TV show Tattletales. And people were cheering for their player, because when their player won, they won prizes. And it was just the sense of community and the sense of production was just so high. It was so fun. And
that is the way we do it here on the Las Vegas Strip.
yeah, I was just so excited to see that this thing that I love, this hobby of mine that is such an important part of my life, has become something that can be in a theater in Las Vegas to be performed for people. As far as what games could go next year, who knows? I mean, I don't even know what's going to come out between now and then. I love that the organizers of Unrivaled, like I said, have leaned toward games that are less Puerto Rico and a little bit more Ticket to Ride. And I think it's really cool to create that space for competitive gaming. So hopefully we'll see some more fun games like these.
I hope so too. Well, thank you very much for the time. That's all the time that I have here. So reporting from Unrivaled at Bally's Las Vegas, I'm Barry White for Geek Nifty.